Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna talk about what is the best camera gear for beginner to start photography. Of course, a funny answer is that as much money as you have, just get the most expensive one. Well, if you are blessed with a lot of money, then that's a good option. Otherwise, we really need to consider what are the most suitable device for us with our limited budget before we moving forward and put more money on photography. And there are so many options in the market today, like Canon, Nikon, Sony. Should we go with full frame cameras or crop cameras? What are they? What are the differences? Well, and for beginners, they are really confused. So let's together with me go to this video to decide which one are most suitable for you. Well, as I mentioned, the three biggest brands come to our mind is Canon, Nikon, and Sony. But well, for beginner, I can immediately say that we can omit the Nikon for now. Mostly because if we take a look at the Nikon camera series recently, and for the entry level, the three latest model is D3300 to D3500. And the problem is that they are using the same sensor technology, which is the X-Speed 4. So it seems like Nikon is abandoning this kind of entry level. They didn't upgrade their sensor technologies, and that's what I don't really like. I believe that Nikon is moving forward to mirrorless series instead of continue with the DSLR. So, and talking about the DSLR or mirrorless, which one should we pick as a beginner? Well, I can say that it's kind of depend. If you really want to have the feelings of being photographer, then a DSLR camera would give you better experience. Like it's much bigger, it's feel professional, and you really want to see the screen over the small viewfinder and take the shot. It's a really good experience that you don't have with your phone, smartphone cameras, for example. So if you really want to try that, then the Canon probably the one that you should pick. And taking a look at Canon entry-level cameras here, it's quite a lot actually, but I can immediately suggest you to get this one, the EOS Rebel SL3. This is kind of a latest one in the market, and the price of it in Finland, the price of it is about 600 euros. Comparing to the latest Nikon model is almost nearly 600 already. So with that kind of comparison, I will skip this Nikon and discuss more about this Canon. And how about this model below with like 1000D, 3000, 4000? Well, I would say that this model is kind of cheap, but it's really weak. The camera body, the sensor technology, and the image quality is not that satisfied. So for one who's really have limited budget, but still want to try it, then this one could be the one you pick. But I believe that in the future you would want to upgrade it into a more stronger model. And how about these 800 or 850D model and so on? Well, these kind of models are kind of older than the one I mentioned, the Rebel SL3. Even the price of it is pretty much similar, so it's or even higher, like 700 already. This one is just 600. If I want to compare that 600 and that 700 one, what are the differences? Well, the 600 one, the Rebel SL3, has like quite better battery life and even lighter, so it's easy to carry around. It can give you like more shots with one single charge. Otherwise, the expensive one has a better focus point and shoot a bit faster and so on. But to me, I want to shoot pictures. I don't really want to record videos with this camera. I would use my phone instead. So I would really suggest to go with the Canon EOS Rebel SL3, which is here around 600. But before you go with this DSLR model, please give the mirrorless models a shot. So let's talk about the Sony one. Sony is kind of putting more and more efforts on mirrorless cameras. They has a lot of successful models in the market for mirrorless camera. The A6000 is the one you really want to pick if you want to go with a mirrorless camera. And its price is also really comparable to the Canon one as well. So it's about 600. And if we want to take a look at those models comparing to each other, so we can see that that's well, it's kind of comparing the DSLR camera to the mirrorless camera. So there are some strengths which is absolutely belongs to the DSLR camera. For example, the battery lives. You can see that 1000 shots versus like 400 shots. That's quite a big difference. But we can easily close this gap by just one extra battery. The other functionality like touchscreen, microphone parts, video recording, I don't really need it. But the Sony camera had some strong advantages on focusing system. This is the one that they're really proud of. Like focusing system, much more focus points. And because the Sony one is a mirrorless camera, so it's usually much lighter. Where you might think that a 100 gram lighter here shouldn't be an issue, but considering if you have to travel several days, long distance with it, then it actually could save you some effort. So what I just told you is based on what I saw on the internet, like seeing here, doing the comparison together with my experience of like try and use different cameras. But again, adding more experience with the camera issues happened to me over the times. Let me give you more ideas to select the best one you want to pick. So again, as I mentioned, should we select DSLR or mirrorless camera? The answer is that probably people will go with DSLR, but one very big problem that I'm so hesitate to get back to the DSLR camera these days is that the focusing issue, which means that the focus is being back or front of the subjects instead of exactly close to the subjects. That happens because DSLR cameras use face detection autofocus system, which claim to be pretty fast, but it can cause wrong focusing. Why? Because the face detect sensor, as you can see from here, number 7, it's a different sensor than the real sensor that will take the image. So the real sensor is here on the back, but the autofocus sensor is here. It's a different one, and sometimes they don't really match to each other. So this focusing issue is something I'm really concerned, even though it doesn't happen all the times if you keep the cameras carefully. And also some options would allow you to adjust the focus distance, but still that's something manually we have to do, and I don't want to get with it. Anyway, considering that the DSLR camera is heavy and it might have this kind of sensor detection issue, I will not go with it, because the mirrorless model is more advanced and more like lighter, a lot lighter and easy to carry around. Because the mirrorless cameras, they don't have this mirror around here to reflect the light around. The sensor of the mirrorless camera is also doing the autofocus detection.
So which means that the autofocus sensor number 7 here is also integrated inside the main sensor, which means that, well, if the main sensor says it has been correctly focused, then it is correctly focused. It's not going wrong. And I believe that most of us as beginner, we want to take landscape photography, right? Then being focused is really important, and the like mirrorless sensor, the mirrorless camera with the sensor on top of the main sensor of the camera will make sure that you got your whole frame of the picture in focus. And with the new technologies from the mirrorless cameras, the main sensor of the mirrorless cameras can also do face detection autofocus, which means that it's also fast, and even some models are mirrorless model are even much faster or really faster than the face detection sensor of the SLR cameras. So really please consider to go with mirrorless cameras, even it doesn't give you like the big camera body to make you look professional, but I think what we want here is the experience and the image quality out of the camera. And again, as I mentioned, the Sony mirrorless camera A6000 here, it's changed people mindset about mirrorless cameras. The focusing system is so mature comparing to the SLR cameras, so I believe you will not regret to get this Sony camera model, and you can live quite a long time with it. Going with Sony, I can tell you again based on my experience, the mirrorless APS-C camera here use the same lens mount with its full frame latest model camera, which means that you can use one lens for different models. Of course, when you use a APS-C lens on a full frame, then there would be a dark area around the pictures, because the small lens cannot capture enough light for the big sensor. But even those, we don't need a adapter which could cost like 250 bucks in order to reuse a lens from different systems. And just one more experience with Sony series. If we want to decide between crop cameras or full frame cameras, well, the answer is easy for beginner. Let's go with crop cameras until you have a lot of money. Well, basically it means because the crop cameras, even the sensor of it is smaller than the full frame cameras, the image quality is just pretty good in our eyes. And even if we print it out and doing some comparison, we can see that the image quality is not like a big issue. And one more thing is that the lens for APS-C cropped cameras is much cheaper than the lens for full frame camera. Believe me, maybe one day you will need to have more lens out of the kit lens go together with the camera. Maybe you would need a portrait lens and so on, and that lens would be much cheaper if you have a APS-C camera. So again, don't be concerned too much about APS-C or full frame, because what we really concerns here is our budget as a beginner. So I definitely suggest you to go with APS-C camera, the crop sensor camera, instead of the full frame, which is heavy, costly. It doesn't worth with the image quality improvement comparing to the crop cameras. Another small question is that, well, can I use iPhone Pro 14 Pro to do photography? And if you really want me to do another video to talk about iPhone cameras comparing to mirrorless or DSLR cameras, then please give me some comments. But I would say that that would be not an option, because using iPhone cameras you cannot adjust some metrics. For example, the aperture of the lens, you can't change it, it's fixed in iPhone. So at the end of the day, my suggestion would be really focusing on the Sony mirrorless A6000. You will not go wrong with this. This is a really worthy and considerable models for you to go with.
So that's about it. Thank you for going through this video with me. I hope it helps you to make up your mind to pick up the best camera gear for your photography career. And if you have any thoughts, any ideas you want me to discuss about, please give some comments in the comment section below. We will get back to each other soon. Thank you very much.